everybody, and welcome to CEO Chat here on RVN TV. My name is Al Cini.
I'm Joe Asamendi.
And we have teed up today a great program. I have a little bit of a tech background.
Okay.
Just enough to be dangerous. We're talking to somebody who specializes in an area of technology that is very, very hot these days. His name is Stephen Buerkle.
Welcome to our show, Steve.
Thank you very much, Joe.
What a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Al.
And we spent a little bit of time on the phone. Stephen Buerkle is the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Product Officer
Correct.
at LucidAR.
Correct.
And what you do is augmented reality and also some virtual reality. Is that true?
Yes, we do. We do both. We do virtual reality and augmented reality, which are, do you want me to explain that a little bit?
First thing people are going to want to know is what is
exactly.
augmented reality?
So they differ. I'm sure everybody's heard about both of those, but virtual reality, well, let me start with augmented reality. Basically, augmented reality lets you see the real world as we're seeing this right now, but then it starts overlaying data on the glasses that you're wearing, which are not quite this small, but similar to this. So you're able to, if it were telling me about you, I could see your name and anything else the database would know about you.
Right.
And you know, if I'm in a field service situation, I could be looking at a piece of machinery that I didn't know that much about, and it would give me all the information that I may need to know about that. In virtual reality, though, you are the headset you wear, which is technically called an HMD or head-mounted display. Goggles, as a lot of people call them. They cut you off from this existing world and give you a different world to look at, and it's as real as this world. So it's very useful in situations where you need to teach them how to do something dangerous, something that would be very expensive to break, whatever, where you need to give them the ability to fail and do it without any risk. And so that's the purpose of virtual reality. And it's both of these technologies have been used and are used, and you'll most often hear about these for gaming. And so the audience generally, I have to explain that we are not in the gaming field. We're making use of technology that's very useful in gaming and fun, but we use it for training people in industrial and manufacturing environments on how to do their jobs better if they've never worked with a particular very expensive piece of machinery like a large industrial robot. We can train them how to use that robot and do it remotely, not in the factory, and they can keep learning how to do it, make mistakes, go through the whole process at very little cost, very little risk. And then when they walk in the factory, they're up and running in 5 minutes. And so the ROI is very, very high from that point of view, from the pure training aspect. But more importantly, you don't have to take that machine offline, and you don't have to stop the production line to train them.
They can be doing that while you're up and running, which is key.
Exactly.
And it's not just training, though. We spent that time on the phone, and I'm trying to.
Sure.
What I really want to do, Steve, is connect you with people who are watching our program who might be opportunities for you. And the simple application for this, Joe, is that on Thanksgiving, if I had a product that Steve made, I could put on glasses and the names of all my relatives would appear under their faces so that I wouldn't have to ask my wife who those people were. But in the real world application where the real cost benefits come in, I could be performing at a distance a very dangerous operation that I minimally trained in because the glasses would focus my attention on the things that I needed to see. Which is like 90% of training. So instead of spending a year to learn what to look at, I spend a couple of days or weeks learning the function in general, and then the glasses steer me to where I need to look.
So here's an analogy. Think of the aviation world, and in military aviation, you have what are called heads-up displays. So basically, the pilot's looking out of the windscreen, and all the data that pilot needs to know is on the we'll call it the dashboard, the cockpit dashboard, but it's also being projected onto the windscreen back into their eyes. So they are looking at the real world, but they're getting information about that. And so the checklist they have to go through, everything about their environment around them, about the airport they're approaching, everything about that is displayed on this heads-up display. That is an example of augmented reality.
And it's showing me only the things I need at this moment in time.
It's situationally aware.
Yeah, that's so critical because a lot of complex functions, when you can narrow the scope and focus of what of people's attention to what they need to pay attention to. That's years of experience collapsed down into a few seconds for an ordinary person.
Exactly, and especially given the fact that we have an aging workforce, and so as those experts in each industrial environments, manufacturing environments, whatever, even medical, aviation, whatever.
Seriously.
That knowledge base they've gained over a lifetime is disappearing when they retire, when they die, et cetera. If you can capture that knowledge, embed it in we'll call it an expert system, and give it back to them through augmented or virtual reality, the ROI is enormous.
It's huge.
How long has this technology been available?
Well, virtual reality was the first one, and that was created back in 1962 or 63 by the Air Force to train pilots. Very clunky,
Simulators,
simulators.
Right. Yeah, flight
but these, you had 4 big monitors, the kind that we all used to own, hung from a chain on the ceiling, and you put your head up in between those. That was the beginning of virtual reality. So you'd look around and your world would be represented by those 4 screens. It's now, what's really happened, get my phone out. So all the technology that's in this phone, the display, the low cost or low energy demand CPU that's in there, all the technology that's in here has now allowed VR to really come to fruition. There's something called an inertial measurement unit in here, which measures where this is in real space. So when you have on the virtual reality headset, for example, or the AR glasses, the augmented reality glasses, and you turn your head, it knows you're turning your head, and it knows how much and how quickly, and it tells the computer that you're hooked up to change the visuals that you see, in perfect synchronicity with your head movement. So what you see is exactly what you should be seeing at that moment, and your inner ear is telling you that it's all working. And that's very important because a lot of people have heard about the fact that virtual reality used to cause motion sickness and that sort of thing. That's did happen in the past. It doesn't happen anymore, and there are a lot of technical reasons why that is no longer happening. But it's a very, very stable technology at this point. The cost factor for the headsets alone is in the $500 to $700 range. Very, very inexpensive.
Wow,
it used to be
that's impressive.
Very affordable. The computer is now down to less than $1,000. So for $2,000 all in with extras and everything else, you've got a device that can be used over and over again by your training facility.
Well, and that gets us back to what LucidAR does,
Correct.
which is to create custom solutions for companies that fit into the circumstances that it's not about building a product that people have to change their business to use.
That's correct.
It's about embedding and designing a product that fits inside somebody's business.
That's exactly right. We're trying our entire mantra. I have an MBA in finance and really focus on the financial side of the world. I'm a technologist, but I always have that finance voice speaking to me in the background. And so we are very, very focused on ROI. If it doesn't make economic sense, there's no point in doing it.
Nobody's going to buy it anyway. That's it.
We want to have relationships with larger companies. We hit sort of the mid-tier companies. That's our target market. And we try to find ones that have a sense that things aren't going quite as smoothly as they should be, from a training aspect, from whether they're onboarding. We do onboarding, soft skills, technical training, and retention training.
Sure, and that's
so
great.
we have the full life cycle for employees embedded in our business model.
Okay, now often we see television programs where they talk about how Amazon might apply something like this, and we know Amazon is a wealthy company with tons of money. But even smaller companies that have maybe a couple of warehouse locations,
oh my gosh,
who want
absolutely.
to speed up the picking operation.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of the time that people waste picking products in a warehouse is just finding where the products are.
We're really just going after markets where we feel like we can add value. And so there's almost nothing out there. I mean, actually, when I was getting the makeup done for this, we're talking about that a little bit, and that actually would be an area where it would work very well. So there's no business out there where this doesn't apply.
We could have remotely made you up over the internet
exactly.
while you were on your way in your car. But I mean, that really is where we're going, where we could take action at a distance. I mean, and there's a lot of enabling technology that people take for granted these days, but we remember when it didn't exist.
Oh my gosh.
The internet makes it possible to connect any 2 points anywhere in the world with near instantaneous turnaround. That's there already.
That's correct.
You've got these head-mounted displays, HMDs, that have Wi-Fi in them,
yes.
which allows them to get connected to any point anywhere
exactly
in the world. What about the infrastructure if a company were to hire you to build a solution like this for them, would they need to build an expensive infrastructure to support it?
Not at all. All they have to do is buy the equipment I talked about. I mean, that's literally it.
Really?
And more importantly, that cost is very low, but as they're hiring people, they can find people anywhere they may be living and have them learn the skills necessary for whatever particular job it is. And if they pass all the tests and they get proficient in whatever the tasks are, then they get hired. So you could actually have a hiring process that weeds out everybody who doesn't have the aptitude for it, doesn't enjoy it, isn't excited about it. You can test them, get them to the point where literally they're walking into the facility and 5 minutes later they're up and running.
Oh, the cost savings is immense.
It's enormous.
It's enormous.
That's, once again, the ROI is what we focus on.
And the important thing is that it's approachable even for mid-sized companies. Maybe even some
even
large,
small
high-end
ones. Oh my
small
gosh.
companies can
Hey,
afford
let me put it this way. An HVAC company, HVAC company that has 5 or 6 employees, it would be perfect for them. AR would be the particular technology that I would use unless they're onboarding somebody brand new who has to go through the basic training.
Right.
But all of that, I mean, the unions, the organizations that train people in communities, they would be a perfect use case for the soft skills training. I mean, it's an astonishing revolution and a paradigm change in industry and in manufacturing.
Okay,
universal market too.
Absolutely.
It's huge. We're going to need to take a break, but we're making connections with people who may not have considered this to be something they could afford or imagine.
No, it's
at the end of the program, Steve is going to explain to all of you how you can reach him to talk about how maybe you can begin to find a solution together.
Absolutely. We'd love to talk to pretty much anybody who is interested in this.
When we come back, we'll talk about the build process.
Excellent.
So we'll be right back with more of a terrific CEO chat with Steve Buerkle after these messages.
Stick around.
Strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Assurance. It's a word, a touch, a look that sparks a feeling. Peace of mind that everything will be all right. These are the moments that inspire us to do more than you'd ever expect from a car insurance company at a price that's less than you'd expect. This is more than just insurance. This is Plymouth Rock Assurance. Visit us at PlymouthRock.com.
Hi, my name's Casey Price, host of a brand new show called Everyday Elder Care. My show will help you take the stress out of caring for your elderly loved one by educating you about options and solutions you may not even know exist. Tune in every Tuesday at noon on RVN TV. We'll see you there.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration. Welcome to Rod's Steak and Seafood Grill in nearby Morristown, New Jersey. Bring your appetite and feed your passion.
Love my style and I'm dancing tonight. My smile from pearly white side. Love myself, love my style. Pearly white, love your smile. From teens to grown-ups braces, they can change your life. All ages and all faces, just smile from pearly white. Love yourself, love your style. Pearly white, love your smile.
Well, welcome back to CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini,
Still Joe Osterman.
just like you were 2 minutes ago. What people don't realize is that there are 3 days between segments, and we went out, we had fun.
Yeah.
No, it's welcome back, and we've got a terrific guest. We're talking with Steve Buerkle, who
Hey,
is
Steve.
the mover and shaker at LucidAR, which is a company that specializes in augmented reality and virtual reality, which is a world that's converging, and we'll talk about that later.
Right.
But for now, a case we made in the beginning of the program was that people who are out there watching who might own businesses will find that a conversation with you could converge on an affordable solution that could greatly accelerate onboarding, that could reduce error and improve quality.
Positively.
And how, what I think I want you to do now, Steve, is to kind of walk us through
Positively.
what a conversation like that would be like and where it would go.
Great. And let me just do a couple of things in the process here. First, a shout out to the CEO, who's Roderick Craig. Roderick's in San Francisco and a tremendous supporter of me and has helped us a lot. And so I'm really excited to be part of this.
That's great.
Roderick is the founder.
So, and Roderick, you said, is in San Francisco. I think.
That's correct.
Okay,
And so that gives us access to the tech community in San Francisco. And, so we have a bi-coastal company, which is very
that's
exciting.
another point. We're making this program in the Philadelphia area, but you can do this work for anybody anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, absolutely.
And you have, in fact.
Yeah,
So you've got-
absolutely.
Okay.
And so the process, to answer your first question, the process that one goes through, what we go through when we're working with a client, is first of all to identify the problem they've got and to make it more granular, to figure out what the steps are for. So let's say that one area that I mentioned is safety training. So OSHA training, that's a big one. It has huge implications. If we can reduce the risk for a company that has a number of workers that are in dangerous situations, companies that are doing construction work and that sort of thing, the implications for us being able to do recurrent training where they get retrained every 6 months or every year, just as people in the aviation world do, then that reduces the risk and potentially reduces workman's comp cost, which then reduces the risk factor for insurance companies, which means that we have a even higher ROI than what I mentioned
Then
before.
just the obvious cost offsets. You've got
Exactly.
cost offsets people may not be thinking about. That's
Exactly.
great.
So,
Good.
so I'll walk through the process of what we would do with a company that had had people working on a construction site. So let's say you've got a forklift operator. There are all sorts of things that can go wrong with a forklift.
Right.
You're lifting something. These things lift. They reach very high, and if they reach in and grab a pallet that is over the weight capacity for that particular unit, the forklift that they're using, it has the potential of turning the entire thing over on top of the employee. I mean, it's
Tipping over.
incredibly dangerous.
Which is a workman's comp claim, and it's a mess.
It's
a
a
bad
very
thing.
big bad day for somebody.
Definitely.
So the process of going through that would be talk to the company, find out how they do training right now, and actually sit through that training with them, go through the entire process, having somebody take notes as to the big steps, and figuring out where the risk factors are, and trying to identify the primary risk factors in that whole process of training and actually operating the forklift, and defining that down to a number of steps, and we want to make sure the training can fit into a certain unit of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, somewhere in that period of time, and do this in segments where the memory retention is very, very high, the engagement factor is very, very high, and then we'll go to the visual developers, the people who create the digital assets, the digital representations of that forklift. Remember, when they put on the headset, they have to see something that looks identical to a forklift.
Right.
So those CAD models have to be imported from the manufacturer. They have to put virtual humans in there to operate or to act as the people who are actually operating it, and so on, and go through that whole process of bringing the digital assets and then structuring the training so that the person is actually going through the process of turning on, operating, and then shutting down that forklift, and lifting different categories of weight and that
Different
sort of
loads
thing.
from different heights under different circumstances.
Exactly.
Right.
So that is the process that we go through. In terms of the amount of time it takes, typically we look at a 2 to 4 month period where from the first meeting to the beginning of actual training using that. Cost factor right now is in the range of $50 to $85, $90,000 for the single training, but that training, once again, can be used
It's
continuously.
reusable then after that. Once it's done, it's done.
And we're looking at a business model where other companies can license that, and some of that revenue that was originally spent by our client comes back to our client through that process of relicensing to third parties.
Wow. So I could start this process in January, and by the summertime, it could be saving me money.
Oh, absolutely. My
That's the
gosh.
important thing.
And the ROI is as I mentioned, very, very high because you're not having to take people off the job to do this. They can do it, in off time. They can train remotely. You don't have to take that forklift and have it only used for training for a week. You've got your training remote or virtually. So it's very the ROI is high.
And I don't need to have
insurance is terrific.
Oh my gosh! That's one of our next discussions is to have that with insurance companies to figure out how they perceive the world. I don't assume that they will buy into it immediately, but I have to believe that once they
over time,
understand,
they'll know that the claims costs are going to go down.
exactly. I
and
mean, this is the other thing about virtual and augmented reality. The use of, for what we do is that the analytics on the back end of it are very, very powerful. Every single thing that the person does. Every single thing, from even the eyeball movement of what they're looking at any moment in time, is captured
That's
by
all captured by the system.
So
Right.
we will be using artificial intelligence to evaluate that and figure out where the inconsistencies and the inefficiencies are in their training process, so we can refine the training. Because after all, the personal ROI of this, if they're spending time doing it, it has to be valuable to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if we can improve the training, so instead of taking, an hour to go through this several times, we can shorten it down to 30 minutes.
Time is money.
It is,
Time is
especially
money,
when you have an
definitely.
employee on the job.
And the important thing, I think, too, to mention is that there could be a company that's been in operation for 70 or 80 years. They're used to doing things a certain way. They don't need to be a $10 billion company.
Not at all.
It could be a
Oh my gosh.
$20 or $30 million company.
Absolutely.
And they can get huge
That's
return on
actually
an
our target
investment.
market, is that range.
That range of companies.
Let's say 10 million to 100 million. That's our sweet
And
spot.
when you were talking about how it captures all these activities that people perform, before the program we were talking about how you use an application like Waze to find your way
Right.
to the studio today.
Right.
Waze is an example kind of as of an augmented reality program. Really,
Oh,
it's
positively.
and it gathers all this
Oh my
information
gosh.
from all the people that are driving all over the
That's
place.
exactly right.
And it uses that to decide how to get you here in the most economical way.
Most efficient way.
And economy
That's
could be
a
defined
direct
by how much
analogy.
it could be defined by how much you're paying in tolls. It could be defined by how much
That's
gas
correct.
you're burning. I mean, there
That's
are a lot
correct.
of ways to define that. Usually it's time, but it doesn't have to be.
We're going through a revolution. All these technologies that have sort of been burbling for a while now and coming up into our, most people becoming aware of them, are really having an impact on how industry is changing. And I think that the United States can have a dramatic increase in production based upon our ability to better train people how to do the jobs and create products that will be sold more aggressively on the world market. So I'm doing this partly out of patriotism, I'll call it, because we have the opportunity to really make our manufacturing and industrial environment stronger than it ever was.
Stronger than it ever was. And you can hire somebody in January, and where normally you wouldn't be putting them on the job until March or April, they could be on the job by January 15th.
And you could have a pool of, say, 15 applicants, all of whom want that one job, and they can all train on it. And quite frankly, you can pick the best one through this process at a
quickly,
very
too.
low cost. Yeah.
And on top of that, you've got kids who are joining the workforce who've been playing Fortnite since they were 11
Exactly.
years old. And they put on a head-mounted display.
Oh, they'll
and
love
it's
this.
It's like their home in their basement.
This will be very familiar to them, and the reality is it'll be familiar to anybody who puts it on because it's as real as we are sitting right here.
Right.
I mean, it's literally that real.
So even an old guy like Joe could I hate to bother you on this.
You
but
keep picking on
even
Joe.
Even Joe, I know. It's part of the fun of the program is we get to do that with each other. But I mean, it's the kind of
I don't
thing
get
that,
paid, though.
regardless of your age, you could be made comfortable with it.
Has-
But millennials in particular will be very
Oh,
comfortable with
well,
it.
they'll totally understand it. And, the technology is improving every single day. We're getting these incredible advancements in the quality of the technology and the reduction in price. 15 years ago, that $2,000 price, which I mentioned, is about what the computer and the HMD cost. That would have been probably $100,000 to $300,000 easily.
Right.
Well, we've got about 4 minutes left, and
Yep.
and what I want to talk about is what's over the horizon, because you mentioned during the break that you're building a reusable library.
Sorry.
Yeah, just hang up on it. You're building.
That's my mother.
Somebody is calling. I know. No. It could be somebody calling in wanting to build one of these things. You should take
Exactly.
that.
They said quit picking on Joe. That's what happened.
That's really it. I'll leave Joe alone.
Somebody calling in.
LucidAR is building a reusable library of components that,
Yeah,
that a
exactly.
customer could use to build their own.
So exactly. So I'll explain that very briefly. Right now, we're doing customized development simply because we want to get into the market and get moving very quickly. So we know what we're doing. We have a lot of experience doing this. So we feel like we're very well suited to do this right now. The long term, though, is we're one company, and we can't. There are about 295,000 manufacturing companies in the United States, and we obviously can't address all of them. We can address specific industries, but we want to expand very, very quickly. So the right way to do that is to create basically an object-oriented library, as you mentioned earlier, a digital library of assets. This table might be a digital asset. That forklift is a digital asset. The humans are digital assets. They're all parts that go into this experience, and basically create a library where you can pick and choose the elements for that experience. And so, in the sort of future version of this, 6 months, 9 months out, we'll have a platform, what we call a platform, a library, where the subject matter experts, the true experts within their companies, can make use of this tool and create their own training experiences. So we're not the ones doing it, and they'll simply license the platform from us. That's the long-term approach.
So they could be vertically oriented toward one market or another market. It could be distribution. It could be warehouse applications. They could use your stuff to build their application.
The consulting firms that consult to them, they would be a perfect client to us, because then they can address a number of their customers. So that's where we're going with this.
You can spread
that's
this
really
technology very quickly.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this.
Absolutely.
Okay, now what kind of a crew you're doing this all with? Who do you have on your team?
We have a small team within the company, and then we use a large number of external companies that do the actual development. They are typically technologists who know the creation side, but they don't understand the business side or actually the LMS, learning management system, that we're using to create this. So it's a distributed workforce, and that lets us use people overseas. If it's something that's confidential, government related, that sort of thing, they'd all be American assets.
Right.
American.
Which means you could do work that requires a security clearance for a military contractor, a government contractor.
Yes.
You could do that, so you're equipped for
absolutely.
that.
And I'm a vet, so we're partly a vet-owned company, and
Thank you for your service. That's great. That's good.
We're excited to get involved in government work if that's available too.
Well, we talked about the military, obviously military applications.
Oh my gosh,
They're huge, but also
Military is using this a lot right now for battlefield
really?
training,
Right,
medicine on the battlefield, obviously aviation. Pretty much anything in the military that is expensive, so you want to and dangerous, so you want to try to train people in the most efficient manner and safest manner possible.
Well,
What's
that's-
interesting about that is when you talk about anything in a dangerous situation, you can't eliminate the severity of an incident happening, but you certainly can take out the probability of it happening.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you practice something over and over and
Right.
over, and I have many, many stories of, in the aviation world and other things that I've done in my life where if I had the chance to practice that, 20, 30, 40 times in a row before I actually did it,
Right.
It would have been quite a bit safer.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
now we have to wrap because, but for people out there who've been watching, their applications, virtual reality and augmented reality applications that have real world practical applications.
Positively. It's all about, corporate ROI.
If you're curious about how you might be able to use this, you want to call this guy, Steve Buerkle, tell him how to get you.
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing is go to our website. So it's LucidAR, LucidAR.com. please go to that, and there's an area where you can put in your name, address, and not address, but name and email address, and phone number if you want to give that to us, and just reach out to us, and we'll certainly reach out to you immediately, and that's how we do it.
This is a chance for you to propel yourself into the 22nd century from the 21st
That's very
century.
true.
So it's really cutting edge stuff, and it's available today, which is what makes us so exciting.
Absolutely.
Steve Buerkle,
Thank you so
pleasure
much.
having you on
Yeah.
the program.
Yeah, thank
Joe,
you.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And thanks all of you for joining us today on CEO Chat. We have Mainline to the Shore coming up next, and then after that, we're back with another CEO Chat at 11:30.
Stick around.
Thank you.